everybody. I'm Ben Rice, and you're listening to Barley and Me presents Leonard Malting, a beer movie podcast where we talk about films about and strongly featuring beer. With me as always, but also for the first time, are my co-hosts, Paulina Olivares of the Boots Society Sacramento.
Hi.
And Corky McDonnell, one half of the Sacramento-based bad movie podcast Dare Daniel.
What's up, everybody?
Oh my god, thank you guys so much for doing this. This is our first ever Barley and Me spin-off movie podcast. It will be a disaster, I'm sure. Because today we're watching a movie I had seen before and fallen asleep to several times. We're watching 2013's Drinking Buddies. And that is a movie written and directed by Joe Swanberg, starring Olivia Wilde, Jake Johnson, I knew I was going to do it. Jake Johnson, Anna Kendrick, and Ron Livingston. Like, that's a good lineup of people.
Yeah, that's a good cast.
It's like a who's who of people you love that don't really do a lot of big budget movies.
Right. That should be that should be a nice little tight indie movie cast.
Yeah. And yet. I mean, I don't want to presuppose your guys' opinions of this movie, but I know how I felt about it the first time I saw it, halfway through when I fell asleep, and then the time I saw it in preparation for this podcast. But I knew it was going to be a good intro because it's the most modern take on a beer movie. Like, otherwise we're watching Strange Brew from the 80s. Like, that's
Sure.
Clearly not even really based in anything besides the fact that major corporations are evil. That's really...
You got Beer Fest, you got Strange Brew, and then you got the movie Beer with Loretta Swit from 1981, where she's a marketing director trying to sell really shitty beer.
Oh, I hated that movie too. So it's like... So this is an idea that maybe we'll do multiple episodes of, but also there's just not a lot of an oeuvre to get into.
Yeah, not a lot of good beer movies.
Yeah.
Strange Brew, classic. But, yeah.
Yeah. So this movie, I watched it and then I did research, like you're supposed to do. You kind of take it in. And then, so it turns out this movie is unscripted.
Could have told you that.
Yeah, I'm glad I knew that before watching, because otherwise I would have been really confused.
Every scene where they're shouting and talking over each other is like every Zoom meeting I've been on for the past month.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, like, I'm glad that the actors that are in it, because imagine how bad this would be with somebody else in it, I guess.
Yes.
Like, if it is this not interesting with people you love improvising, and, like, to be fair, playing their emotions pretty well, but, like, story structure kind of... That's fine. Also, they did actually film it at a real brewery, Revolution Brewing in Chicago, and had, like, people chime in on how to, like, make sure the beer and the industry parts look real, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was really a nice setting. I really the opening I was in. I don't know if we're diving in already, but the opening I was in. It was a brewery. We're watching the front of the house. We're watching the back of the house. We got a nice little shaky cam to show you that we're just we're just a fly on the wall, right? This isn't a professional gig.
Yeah, this is how brewing is done professionally. Look at us. We're putting in malt. We're checking on the whirlpool. We're doing all the stuff we need to do to make real craft beer.
Anything that wasn't in the brewery, I was like, come on.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. I think because those parts, obviously the actors aren't used to the cleaning and the whatever processes in the brewery. So that part, they were acting more than like their improv. So like there's a little more structure to what they were doing.
Yeah. I think they've all kind of made their careers being like a love interest type character. So like, I know how to play this part. We can totally do this. But then it just...
Yeah. That's every scene. So I'm familiar with Anna Kendrick. Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with Olivia Wilde. And I'm familiar with Ron Livingston. Who is the male lead?
That's Jake Johnson. He's from The New Girl.
New Girl.
Yeah.
Zoe Deschanel.
Oh, okay.
TV show. And
he's kind of schlubby, like your best friend who you end up dating guy.
Oh, well, let me tell you, has he got a role for him? Because that's what he played from moment one.
Yeah.
I don't know. The plot of this movie is these two are supposed to be together. The whole world sees it except for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The classic, will they, won't they? Look at how much they have in common. P.S. They're both pieces of garbage.
But also, I think they have the most chemistry between any of the actors paired together.
Yeah.
Even with their own, like, couples, like, it just... And I guess that made sense for the whole plot, but, like him and Anna Kendrick were supposed to have been living together and together for a while, but you didn't really get a lot of that chemistry in there.
Yeah. I think they revealed that they'd gotten together when they were like 21 and now they're like 28, 29. And it's just like, and they've like changed as people. I think it's a conversation they have.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really weird to like watch that, but it's also like, oh, well, we're actually playing it as a couple that used to be in love and now we're just going through the motions and pretending it's real. I think is what they were going for, but it really just felt like we don't know each other.
Also, I for some reason in this movie, even though like it's improv and every actor is probably like trying their best to be whatever character, Anna Kendrick was the least Anna Kendrick I've ever seen her. Like every other role, she's like this quirky like girl, and this one she's like kind of a normal person. She's a special ed teacher. She's like the living girlfriend who like cooks veggie lasagna. Like
yeah, and
she's like the least Anna Kendrick I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I think that was by design.
You can see what the scenes are trying to do. It's like, because you've picked up that Jake Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Jake Johansson.
Yeah, that's
Jack Johnson.
Jake Johansson.
Jim Jeffries.
Yeah. JJ. We could just call him JJ.
Him and Olivia Wilde are supposed to be together. We see that. They're the best friends. They know each other's quirks and everything. So we're supposed to pick up that Ron Livingston and Anna Kendrick aren't the right people for them. But you only pick it up because you know that the story is supposed to go that way. There's nothing that really shows you that. They tell you that, but they don't show you that. Because like you said, Anna Kendrick was the least Anna Kendrick she's ever been. You're just like, these people don't know each other.
Yeah, every time. And I did put in a note when there was a first relationship with Ron Livingston and Olivia Wilde. These people have names, but just so we're clear, the movie does not make that clear either. My notes are, we are 20 minutes in. I do not know what Anna Kendrick's character's name is. I heard initially when JJ was introduced, I heard Jess. Jess. I was like, sure. And then they never said his name for the next 50 minutes. And then like, it's Luke? Like, why did I hear Jess? And it's Luke. So my notes like Jess ? Like over and over again, my notes were Jess ? Jess ? Jess ? Then like, Luke Jess? Okay, it's Luke. Okay. I got it.
It's Jess, but I go by Luke, which is short for Phil.
Yeah. It's just like, but I knew who the other people were because they were all introduced like at the part. We should probably get into the movie, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it opens up. They're doing brewery stuff. And you'll never believe it is 2013 Chicago craft beer. It is all white dudes.
And do they have beards?
Well,
are they bearded white dudes?
Here's the thing. Not all of them do.
Oh.
There were a couple unbearded fellows.
Those are the ones who don't have a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, they did give Jake Johnson that like brewer look, like the dirty hat, the like schlubby guy with the messy beard, and his hair is always just hanging out.
Old like, torn brewer shirt, like brewery shirt, all that stuff.
Although I will say, none of them wore enough of their own brewery's merch to be like, you know, that's the thing. Like you work for a brewery, you have a million other shirts, you have a million other hats. Like all normal, like no logo.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like you're on the job, you should be wearing that thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you're and they're not beer tenders, so it's not like they can just, you know, I'm going to wear I'm going to support my neighbor thing. They're like employees on the job. They usually wear a brewing shirt that has a thing. You know who they are. You're a sales rep. You're going out. You're going to meet somebody, which, by the way, we're not clear entirely on what Olivia Wilde's job is. And her name is Kate. Right. We can use that if we want to. Her name is Kate. That one's the one that comes up at first. We know it's Kate. No confusion there.
But even Jason Sudeikis says he's the owner. He doesn't even have like, I mean, he's only in a few scenes, but I didn't notice if he did have like a branded brewery shirt on.
No, he would wear like
I bet you Jason Sudeikis did not know what movie he was in. There's nothing in any of his scenes that is really directly about the brewery or anything. He's just kind of like, yeah, sure, great. Wait,
also, no. Mine was about something about, oh yeah, I've never seen a can crushed like that or something weird. Like,
Yeah. And also, here's how you know that he was in the movie, then regretted it. He's not in the credits.
Right.
He uses a fake name.
Basin Sudeikis.
It's Gene Dentler as himself. And by the way, he's never introduced as Gene. There's no Mr. Dentler. His character's never named in the thing. I'm like, who's Gene Dentler? And why should I know who he is? And I'm like, what is it? And where's Jason Sudeikis' name in these credits? Only to find out Gene Dentler is Jason Sudeikis. And apparently Gene Dentler was a cop in Pete's Dragon.
Is this all, are you bullshitting me or is this all real?
This is real. This is real.
This is way more interesting than anything that happened in this movie.
Oh my God. All the background I did afterwards, I'm like, just for fun, going back through my notes, I want to check these things that came in. Let's just talk about the movie, and I'll tell you things as I find them, because I had to update my notes about it. So it opens. Here we go. We're only 11 minutes into this. Look, we're going to find out more about this movie quicker than this movie gets to anything that happens, and we're already wasting a lot of time. So it opens. They're doing the brewery thing. Clearly, we're in a brewery, right? That's how this opens.
Now, you guys are brewery and beer experts, right? That's a dirty job.
Yes.
Right? Like, you would see Mike Rowe doing that on an episode of Dirty Jobs.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's why Olivia Wilde is like sniffing her armpits and stuff. She's like, I'm so sweaty.
That's our one hint that this is a dirty job. She sniffs her armpit. She's got a hair out of place, which is movie code for relatable hotness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the one time Jake Johnson has a hole in his armpit in his shirt.
Yes, constantly has holes in his shirt to show that they're old. He's an old school beer head. He's had these shirts forever. He reps
Just
these
regular
brands.
fellas.
And then he's barefoot.
Yeah.
Oh my God, quirk. So much quirk.
So it's quickly revealed that Kate is the face and voice of the brewery, which to me indicates she's either a taproom worker or she's in sales, right? Or marketing. Right?
Or all three.
Or all three. Could be wearing all the hats. But doesn't seem like she's an owner, right? We can agree on that. Doesn't appear that she's an owner.
No.
Right.
No, because Jason Sudeikis tells her all the things to do, and so she's just doing whatever he says. So she's clearly not that high up on the ladder.
Right, but she's the face of it. Everybody knows, like, hey, when you go into Revolution, you're looking for Olivia Wilde. Kate is what I mean. Got to put that up front.
Did you guys pick up on that she kind of also had some back of the house dreams, like she wanted to learn about brewing and beer?
Oh, you mean the first conversation she has with Luke, and she's like, maybe I can do the brewing and you can do the phone calls, and he's like, not on your life.
Yeah.
Will you be back here brewing beer?
Because I was like, okay, so she's got aspirations, but they're not going to let her because they're a bunch of boys, and that's the boys' house, and you got to stay up front.
Yeah.
But then that goes nowhere.
And this is 2013 where women weren't allowed to brew. I heard that's illegal. That was a law.
It was illegal. Yeah.
So that holds true to the craft beer industry in 2013. Women not allowed to brew. They tried, and they're like, no, we can't let you do that. So point there for accuracy in the craft beer community. Was it because of laws or because men are jerks? Which way to go? So that's the opening scene, is that she clearly hates her job and wants to do more with the company. And they're like, women don't get to do that, but you can be the person everybody associates with us and make us all our money.
Right.
But you can't have any real power. And then they do I felt this was the most true part of this movie, is once they're done with a long brew day and work in the tap house, they go to a dive bar and get drunk.
Yep.
Accurate.
More beer.
But they're drinking like bad beer.
Which is also kind of accurate, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you just want like to crush a beer and like not think about it.
Yeah.
You're off the clock.
I actually tried to make a point to like look at like throughout the movie, like the labels of the beers, if I could recognize some.
Yeah.
Some of them I think they intentionally didn't show. Like I spotted like a Founder Centennial at one point.
Yep.
Yeah. Because if they're supposed to be in Chicago, I was like thinking I'd see some more Goose Island or something, but I didn't see.
They did a lot to avoid the Goose Island thing, which I think was pretty cool to kind of like not focus on it, because I think that's around the time it sold. So you see a lot of Half Acre, and you have references to Three Floyds and a ton of Founders. And so Half Acre is a Chicago brewery. They're at Revolution, which is a real brewery in Chicago. They're like doing their best to like, I was like, is this in Chicago? I had to ask that question, which is how I found out they were doing it at a real brewery.
Gotcha.
just nerding out, taking notes. I will say Founders Centennial IPA 2013 totally checks out. Founders Anything 2020, fuck off and die. Because they're racists. Okay. And they're like, yeah, we were racist. I don't see why it's wrong. You're welcome.
Well, that was cool. I don't know if Barack Obama's black.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Never met him.
Right. Yeah.
So
Like yeah, we openly will announce that we were racist to a black coworker and used the N-word and definitely gave him his own printer that we labeled Black Printer. And we'll admit that we did that, but what's so wrong about it? Trash.
This is like Brewery Babylon for me. I'm just like, wow, all this background stuff going on. Where it's probably well known with you guys.
Right.
Yeah, the Founders drama was pretty real.
Oh shit.
But not in 2013. 2013, Founders was like this place that was really cool and like definitely something you want to get your hands on. And now you're like, no, thank you. Leave it alone.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is how scenes work. They kind of just start and stop.
Yes.
Their big go-to move is to build to something and then not show what they're building to, and then you deal with the consequences later.
Yes, a lot of fill in the blank. Like you just kind of assume what happens between.
Right. So this opening scene, it's, hey, we're brewing. Hey, I'd like to do more. Let's go get drunk. Next scene, there's a big party at Revolution Brewing. That's it. That's like
in between though, we find out that Olivia Wilde Kate is dating Ron Livingston because she bikes to his house.
Not only does she ride a bike, but she wears a scarf with a tank top because she's a really cool girl.
She's down to earth.
I know what my notes say. We do actually, I thought they met Anna Kendrick later, but she's actually at the bar and she's like, comes in later and like just kind of stands around a circle of 5 people. Like doesn't feel like she belongs in the world that her boyfriend of 8 years lives in every day. She's like, I don't know if I belong here. Is it okay if I mention myself?
When they're at that little dive bar, there's a couch they're sitting on next to a pool table. And I was like, that's got to be the nastiest fucking couch. That couch has so many beer farts in it. That has just got to be the worst couch to lay on. And
they were really cozy in it. Like, they were on it.
Yeah.
They were like cozy up in that thing.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's how we establish Anna Kendrick's character. She shows up late, hovers around it, and then kind of like immediately is like, hey, let's get one more and leave. Like, let's get out of here. I don't want to be a part of this. We're dating. And I don't agree with your lifestyle, your career choices, and I don't feel like any of your friends like me, and I don't feel like liking any of your friends.
I know, that was her dialogue. Yeah. I'm judgy, and I don't like your friends, and you could be doing better, and I've outgrown you, but let's go home.
Yeah, I love you. It's the tension of the movie. I wrote it in all caps, tension.
Well, because he was like, one more beer, and she's like, no, I'll go, and then he just decided to go with her, just to not piss her off.
Right. And then we get to the scene where Kate goes home, or goes to her boyfriend's apartment, which is Ron Livingston. Chris is the character's name.
Oh, see, I had no idea.
Yeah, and she bikes there.
Oh, I did know, actually.
Yeah. This is my favorite part. She bikes there, and I'm like, ooh, is she being responsible, or is she not allowed to drive? There's no way to know. Or is it just like, I live close by, I'll just bike. It's not really established. But then my favorite part is she gets to her boyfriend's apartment. We don't know how long they've been dating. I don't think it ever gets established for them how long they've been dating. But she gets to his apartment and has to dial in to be let in. He has not given her the code to access his apartment complex. I love it.
He is the guy that John Cusack wanted to be in High Fidelity. He's got like a job with the music industry, a nice apartment. And he looks like Ron Livingston, not like John Cusack.
Yeah. Crushing it at life. Doing great.
He was probably my least likable character, but I think he's meant to be. Yeah. So that was a good job.
Yeah, because he's like, he works in like music production. Like he's like, oh, I was at the studio. He's not like, oh, I help A&R. He's like, I was in the studio today. It was crazy. And then we run into the same problem with them that we ran into with Anna Kendrick, who it turns out is named Jill, and JJ, whose name I've already forgotten again, even though I have notes. We have the same problem of he's not really a beer guy. He's drinking water from a snooty glass.
I feel like this movie, that's shorthand for odious, awful person. They don't like beer. They're just like, ugh.
How could they ever even be together?
But he does the most douchey guy thing in the world. He gives her a present. He interrupts sex to give her a present, which is a book. And any time a guy's giving you a book that you didn't expressly ask for, or it's like, I think you need to read this, babe, to get on my level. And then he explains what the book is about.
Does he?
He goes, I wrote this line down. He says, it's from when men wrote about God, pussy, and themselves.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And he's like, you're like the main character.
I think you need to smarten up to get to my level. I'm going to tell you because you probably won't figure out what this book is about. I'm going to give it just like, oh, I hated this guy.
Yeah. Oh, and it's like, I couldn't have waited till afterwards. Like, it's not like, hey, before we finish making out, I'm going to propose to you. It's like, here's a book from the 70s. Couldn't wait to give you this book. And I thought this was a very clever directorial choice to not show you the cover initially of what book he'd given her. He's like, buddy, I know one thing. The character's name is Rabbit.
Updike. It's Run Rabbit Run, I assumed, because she says I'm like Rabbit, so.
Yeah.
And Updike would be a guy who wrote about God, pussy, and himself.
So you know this book.
I've given it to many girls in the middle of makeout sessions. I interrupt other couples' makeout sessions just to hand the girl the book.
How often does that work out for you?
Never. I've gotten my face slapped like 20 times.
And how many times has it worked out temporarily only for them to read the book and be like, wait, what are you trying to say here?
I've been broken up with on the spot several times.
Because it is Run Rabbit Run. It is by John Updike, and it is about a has-been stuck in a loveless marriage and who meets a girl and is like, great, I'm going to cheat on my wife immediately. That's what it's about. And he's like, this is you, right? You used to be hot shit and now you're nothing? Stuck in a dead-end job you don't like, and with a person you hate. That's me. What a romantic fucking gift.
How great would it have been, though, if it was like the novel adaptation of Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Like, you just... Here's something I think you're going to like, babe.
Now, I will say I did read the synopsis of that book, because once I was like, I know what the book is, I'll look at it. I will say it doesn't follow this movie note for note, as no children are murdered in this movie. I will spoil that. God, what a mess. All right, so he breaks up the makeout sesh to give her a book. They do resume making out, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But she's got to deliver a report on it the next makeout sesh.
Yeah. But I did a little bit more research on the book. I forgot this. I did find out. This is a fun beer/Run Rabbit Run John Updike movie like tie-in. The book is set in a town called Brewer, Pennsylvania. And well, yeah. And then also, even though this book was written in the 70s, Rabbit, the main character, has a son whose name is Nelson. Like the hop of today.
Wow.
And Rabbit's hop. I just found that out now. It all syncs together. Oh my God, this movie is a disaster. So let me ask you this. Based on what we know, she rode a bike there. She doesn't have the passcode. He gives her a book about how she's not anything. And he probably wants to leave her. Is this a new relationship? Is this an old relationship? Is it kind of in the middle?
When I saw it, I thought it was new because she seemed like she wanted his food but did not ask for it. Kind of that, like he gave her the rest of it. That was a weird scene because if you've been with someone for a while, you just eat food off their plate. You don't ask, you do it. But then later on in the movie, they reveal it's been 8 months.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they do say how long it's been.
And I was like, wait, what?
And like all she knows how to do is like get flirty with him. Like, I'm going to position my body in a sexy way, and that's like the only way I know how to communicate with you.
Yeah,
it's the only
call.
I mean,
so is 8 months new? 8 months isn't new.
I don't think it's new. Yeah,
it's long enough to get the passcode.
That's long enough for you to eat off someone like her and her coworker. Earlier they were seen just touching each other's food. She put her finger in his beer, but she didn't feel comfortable enough to like eat off his plate.
Right.
Because they're in love secretly.
Yes. Which shows like she doesn't belong with him.
Right.
her putting her finger in his beer was like the most sexually aggressive thing. She's like, we're going to do a little role reversal. And okay, now I'm seeing it. Themes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's themes. So we get from that part where it's an awkward romantic rendezvous, and then they go to a party at Revolution where all the brewers are hanging out. There's tons of people around. Chris comes by. Jill comes by. Is this an opening? What is this party? Did they just open?
Yeah, I think maybe, I feel like they said an anniversary maybe, or maybe I filled in the blanks.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
but it's really, but at one point Chris goes, congratulations on all this, and just kind of gestures to the room. So I'm like, is it new? But then how she's a face, so I guess it's probably an anniversary. It's probably an anniversary, which shows, right? Okay, I'm going to take...
There weren't decorations. There was food.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll take an anniversary. They didn't make it clear, but I think, yeah, context, now that I'm talking it out loud, I sound like an idiot, like, is this an opening? Moron. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing. So they're having a big party, and you'll never believe it. Jill and Chris encounter each other.
Uh-oh.
That's Anna Kendrick and Ron Livingston, because we won't learn Jill's name for 45 more minutes. She's so important to the story. And what happened when they are introduced?
Awkward conversation.
He talks about how he's on the spectrum and proud of it, and she thinks that's the most charming thing in the world. Yeah. Or is that later?
That was later. That's
okay.
During the very sexy hike.
Yes.
The sexy hike.
Which, yeah, there's so many weird things. But
sex hike.
Yeah, no, she was telling him how she's a special ed teacher. He's like, oh, so you're a real teacher.
Right.
Such a dick thing.
And then they're like, here's a thing I know. What about this theory? And then like really getting into it of like knowing each other's like career paths and their personalities. They're like really communicative immediately.
But that was such stilted, awkward improving. It was like, that's where I'm saying like, you know, they're supposed to hook up because that's the way you've seen a movie before and you're an adult, you know what's going to happen. But there was nothing I would be like, oh, I buy that relationship. There was nothing.
Like, sexy.
Yeah, there's nothing sexy. It's just like, oh, we share an interest and an understanding of each other's interests.
Yeah. Well, they're also like both intelligent adults with like real, like, these like specific careers, and they're both dating these children that work at a brewery.
Sloppy children who can't, like, they're dry humping each other in every scene.
In front of their significant others, and nobody.
Yeah. They're like super touchy even while this is going on. They're like flirting with each other and like just like, yeah, our significant others are just talking to each other and like getting really way more in depth than we ever do. But this is fine. And also,
he brings up a Camus quote about Sisyphus, and I'm just like, oh, come on. He is so trying. He just read that before he went in. I'm surprised he didn't give her a book to read before he left.
Well, he's like, she already read this book. I don't need to give it to her. She seems like she's already read it. Yeah, and that quote is very telling because he tells her, you know, that the point is that he's actually enjoying the hard work, and that hard work is rewarding. And it's like he's talking about his relationship with Kate. He's like, maybe it's good because it's so hard to be in this relationship. That's actually positive, maybe.
And she doesn't think her boyfriend's work is hard at all. And so she's just like, oh, he's talking about hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then for some reason, these two couples they've already, before they've met, agreed to, because they're like, they mentioned it as they're leaving, like, I'll see you this weekend. And it wasn't dinner. It was like a getaway to a cabin on the beach.
Yeah, that was weird. They didn't really talk about it before, so I thought like it was going to be like a hangout, and then you just see them in this little cabin thing.
Yeah.
It
like
didn't make
secluded, and it's like, but it's clear that like Jill and Chris had never met, right? Like they'd never met, or am I misreading that too?
She was telling Luke, like, don't be a dick, don't hit me in the face. She was like telling him what not to do to embarrass her in front of him. So that was their first time meeting. Yeah. And then like, but they'd already had the plan because they're like, hey, I'll see you this weekend. Like, it's not like, do you want to this weekend do a thing? It's like, just a reminder, this weekend we're doing abandoning society for days at a time. And it's Chris's cabin. Right. So it's kind of doubly weird that he's got two people he's never met coming along. Yeah. Just
based on his 8 months girlfriend, Recco.
Yeah, who works with her best friend, who's been in a relationship with a person for 8 years. And they're like, no, 8 months, we've never, ever once done this. So weird.
Yeah, it's just like their whole thing, like even, I think we kind of skipped over, but that night when he gave her the book, she sneaks out of his place kind of in the middle of the night. She's like, I gotta go home. So that also made it seem like they didn't know each other that long or that well, or if like it was even a real relationship.
You're right. Yeah,
like it was a hookup.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because she's like, oh, I have a thing this morning. It's like he doesn't know her schedule. They don't talk about their schedules. Like, what a flimsy relationship. Almost if they're trying to set up the fact that it's not a good relationship. It's like, I don't know how to do this without telling you directly. This is bad. So they get there to the cabin, and Chris shows them all around. And they're like, yeah, we'll meet back for drinks. And then they show nothing for the rest of the night. You don't see that first night whatsoever. You see them arrive. He shows them around. They go to their rooms. End of day.
Yeah.
It's like 2 p.m. They're like, all right, we don't need to know what happens for the next 17 hours. It's just nothing.
Then we have the like almost real-time egg making scene. It's like they walk you through everything. They show this guy trying to find bowls. I guess it's trying to show you the proximity of Jake Johnson, Jim Ghibli. What's his name?
Jake
Luke.
Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
I wish it was Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
I know, right? It'd be something to like to look
Gyllenhaal,
at.
Kendrick, give me that.
You're right. I'll watch that movie all day. But I guess it's supposed to show that they're comfortable being around each other, and then their significant others come out. Ron Livingston wants to go on a walk, and nobody else does except for.
Hold on, you're missing something. So they're hanging out. It's Kate and Luke hanging out at the house talking, and I'm like, where are the other two? And they like come back from a walk on the beach, like they're returning to the house. They'd already left separately of their own significant others, and then they get back.
Really?
Like, yeah, they come up the beach to them on the stairs.
At first, I thought that it was showing that they woke up early because, like, they work at a brewery and, like, they gotta have early morning. So I thought, like, they woke up before everyone. And then it's kind of revealed they woke up late and the other two went on a walk without them.
Yeah, and then they get back like, you know, now that we're back, you know what we should do is go for a walk. You want to go for a hike? We just got back from hiking. Do you want to? Maybe we can hike all four of us. And no, the answer's no.
Yeah, and then so the two people who had just met, like I'm assuming 2 days before or whatever at that party, go on the most awkward hike together.
Yeah,
this is where the improv is really bad because they are just talking over each other the entire time. The entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it cuts between the two sets of people. You know, there's them on a hike having an awkward conversation, and then there's the other two back home playing cards and drinking, and he's explaining to her how blackjack works.
Yeah. And he's just like, they're really playful. They're getting along. They're able to talk to each other, whatever. They're having beers, and then it goes back and it's just the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Every scene has Luke putting his hand on her face somehow. Yes. Like he puts up cold cuts right on her face in this scene.
Oh, yeah, they make like the Scooby-Doo sandwich.
Yes. It's like some half-assed 9.5 weeks shit.
And then I will point out, this is my favorite part of the conversation between Jill and Chris. Again, Anna Kendrick, Ron Livingston. I think we need to keep saying it because no one's going to care. It's like, I just assume you've all watched this movie and be like, I don't remember who those people are. Can you just use their actor names? It's so interesting. I do like that he's like, yeah, you know, having a relationship with Kate, it's, you know, it's kind of like, what if it was just you? What if it was you that was in it instead of Kate? What if it was Jill that was in the relationship? Just casually, I'll just mention what if that happened. What if that was a reality?
But I think, isn't there also a line about how he said for the first few months he wasn't sure what she was getting out of it, like he was lucky to be dating her kind of thing? Or did I hear that wrong?
He kind of framed it like, what does she want out of this? Like he thought she was scheming, like his job is so good or something, and she's just this low brewery gal. Is the way I took it.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's
like what does she expect out of this?
Trying to say.
Yeah, but they won't.
But again, the script.
It's the things that they won't say. You know?
The subject.
Yes, as she plays with her hair when he mentions, like, what if you were my girlfriend? She's like, oh, let me just play with my hair and awkwardly look away. Oh, so...
Yeah, it's real Merchant Ivory, like a British drawing room romance with unrequited love, real Tess of the D'Urbervilles in a brewery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, they're still just playing cards and pretending they're playing with money and like, oh, I'm at the casino. I'll break your legs. Don't pay me back. Oh, we're cracking jokes, having good times.
I was a little pissed I didn't get to see somebody just whole mouth that sandwich like Scooby-Doo style, just unhinge their jaw, put it right in.
Oh, yeah, they had big-ass sandwiches. And then it cuts back to what's going on in this hike, this impromptu. You guys want to go on a hike? And they're like, fuck, no, we don't want to go hike. He pulls out all the trimmings for a picnic, including a bottle of wine, not beer.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, my God, you brought a bottle of wine. This is crazy. On this impromptu hike when we went to the beach, here's what I have in my bag, a cheese wheel.
The whole setup, just plates.
So they were both wanting this, right?
Yeah. Right.
Or were they wanting romantic interludes and it just happens like they realized then? Or was it prior?
I don't know. It's just
like it was one of those things they didn't realize until the moment, or was it one of those things where it's like, really, I actually hope they don't go for a walk with us and we get to go spend more time
together. I feel like she should have known if they've been dating as long as they have, she would know he's not going to go for a hike, right? If he was that adamant about not hiking. Like that.
Yeah.
This is her second walk of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a bright early morning long beach walk with a romantic walk during sunrise.
She's like, he's 4 sandwiches in by now. I'm just going to go for a sex hike.
And then upon returning from that, she's like, I see my real boyfriend. Oh, I can do anything besides see this person? Yes, that sounds great. Let's do that. Seeing his face just reminded me how awful this is. But also, how did she hide the cheese wedge? Like, it had to be refrigerated, right? She couldn't just keep it in the bag overnight.
Was it a cheese wedge or a cheese board? I thought it was a cheese board.
I saw a wheel.
I saw Tupperware, so I'll have to excuse myself from this debate.
Cheese board for cutting the cheese on?
Oh, maybe. And it was like designed like a cheese. You know what? My brain was playing tricks on me. You know what? Somebody else.
I think you just really want to eat a cheese wheel right now, and so you're just kind of projecting.
If you're listening at home, don't go watch this movie to find out which one of us is right. I cannot say enough. It's not worth it. But I will say that should be about the end of Act 1. This movie was exact. It's like, it's an hour 30. Act 1 is 30 minutes. Act 2 is 30 minutes. Act 3 is 30 minutes. So just fast forward to 29 minutes and you can tell, and then be like, it's a board. It's a cheese wheel. It
does feel like it's an hour in, though, at that point.
It does. Oh, my God. It feels so like it's so long.
And we have done nothing.
And then he steals a kiss, right? He steals a kiss.
Oh, I don't think he steals it. I think she offers it coyly. She's like, I would like to kiss you with my face.
Ah, that's right. She was throwing out the vibes.
Yeah, hard.
Yeah, he's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? She's like, I don't know. It's just me. I'm nervous.
Yeah, I don't, neither one of them wants to be rejected, so they don't want to say, like, what they're really thinking. And then they do it.
But there's, like, so as much as they're having these, like, intelligent conversations or, you know, talking about books or whatever, there's no chemistry between them whatsoever. Yeah. Like, there's no, I don't know, there's nothing between them. So that kiss, even though you know it's coming, is still just really awkward.
Yeah.
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 And also age difference, but that's a whole other.
Always. Is it a movie? There's going to be a weird age difference.
Yeah, I looked it up 20 years.
Oh my God.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's still so open to his emotions. So they make out for a little bit, and then he gives her a head kiss and says, does that help?
Yeah.
And then they don't say another word for like 20 seconds.
She just has like a weird smile.
Yeah, romance. And she's like covering her eyes like, I can't believe I just did that, but it's totally worth it. Huh. And then they cut to, they're on the beach. They're in the water, except Jill, who's on the beach.
Probably feeling guilty, maybe. Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they're playing in the water, all three of them except for Jill, playing in the water, and then Ron Livingston comes out. I don't care about his name. I'm just going to keep saying the actor's names. And she asks how he's doing, and he says, okay. End of conversation.
Yeah, wow. And we don't know how long after this swimming is. So they might not have waited 30 minutes to an hour. They might be out there with cramps, swimming around after those big ass sandwiches.
Yeah. And it's not like, oh, he said, I'm okay. And they're like, and Olivia and JJ are out there in earshot. They're like still in the water playing around. They cannot hear this conversation, what the topic is. And still all I can say is, how are you doing? I'm okay. No other words.
Even if they were in earshot, they'd be too busy playing with each other and fondling each other to even notice what their significant are saying.
Yeah.
I would have loved this real heart-to-heart with Anna Kendrick and Ron Livingston, and in the back you're just hearing, Marco, Polo, Marco.
Yeah. That's basically the scene.
That is.
Yeah. And then we find this is when they cut back to the house. It's nighttime. She's reading the book she's been given. That's when we find out it's Run, Rabbit, Run. Because we didn't show it initially, but now we know what it is. She's pretty engrossed. She's absolutely ignoring Chris / Ron Livingston. Doesn't return any affection he's given her. And this is when the point of the podcast where I realized we never mentioned, since this is a spin-off of a beer podcast, we never talked about what beers we're drinking while we're doing this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Where are my manners? So
Berryessa Free Kittens.
Oh, yeah, the rice lager?
Yeah, it's really good.
It's so good.
One of my favorite beers that I've had recently. I don't think it's new, but it's new to me.
Yeah, it comes back once in a while. It's been around a few years, but it's not a regular beer. And Paulina, what do you got?
I'm about halfway through the Burning Barrel Sal y Fruta, which is a Imperial Goza, 8.1% alcohol, and it is tasty, salty, fruity. I made a michelada out of it once, and it was delicious. It's good.
Nice. And I'm drinking just a classic Brooklyn lager. Just doing it. First time I had it, I was like, this is incredible. And I've been seeking it. And now it's available in California, so I grab it when I can. Also, it was $8 for a 6-pack. I'm going to say yes to that every time.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wonderful lager. If you haven't had it, find it, drink it. All right. Sorry. That was more interesting than anything that's going to happen moving forward. So now it's nighttime. And Olivia Wilde's ignoring Ron Livingston, but reading the book, very fascinated by it. Meanwhile, downstairs, Jill and Luke, JJ and Anna are drinking beers, both drinking beers, good sign, and they are playing cards. And somehow, despite being together for 8 years, this is the first time they've ever played blackjack together. And Anna Kendrick also isn't clear on how blackjack works. So for the second time today, JJ's out there explaining how blackjack works to grown adults.
This is why all improv is not always good. It's because he's like, this is my one move I use on women. It's to teach them blackjack. And they're all, this is my one move I use to fake like I don't know something.
Yeah. And later he'll reveal that he was like a professional dealer for a while. And somehow his girlfriend from when he was 21 years old didn't know that and never bothered to learn, had no interest. Like, oh, you're going to the casino, babe? What do you do there? Oh, how does that work? Never came up. Never once.
I think it was at this point in the movie where his arm tattoo started to bother me, where it looked smeared. And then I feel like throughout the movie, the stars were moving distance between each other. It was almost like Prince John's mole and Robin Hood Men in Tights. So I every scene where I could see his arm, I'm like, where are the stars? The rest of the movie, that's all I could see.
It's like Cassiopeia one scene, Orion the next scene.
A red band and stars in between the two lines. But at some points, it looks smeared. Other points, the stars look further apart and they look closer. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to rewatch it to find out. But I feel like there were some continuity issues with that.
I feel like he's just really into astrology. He's just doing a star chart every day. He's just doing it over.
I didn't even notice that. There's so many things that I just don't understand why they made the choices that they made.
That's how you know you're not really into a movie, is when you start noticing that kind of stuff. You're like, oh, something, tie me in somehow.
It kept me awake, so it worked.
Yeah. Yeah, so they play cards, and then Anna Kendrick, Jill, falls asleep in JJ's arms. And then, but in the meantime, they're very loud, so Kate has come downstairs to investigate and join the party.
She's kind of, she was spying on him for a bit, right?
Yeah. She's like, you're being so loud. No, it's fine.
This is what a successful relationship looks like.
Yeah.
So how do I ruin
Yeah. Well, let me find out. I'll wait till Anna Kendrick falls asleep in a lap, and then JJ / I don't even remember his character's name ever. Luke wakes up, or like he's still awake, and he like pushes her off his entire body. Doesn't wake up. That's of all the unbelievable reactions to things in this movie. Being forced off of the entire place where you're sleeping results in nothing.
Right.
Olivia Wilde must have slipped or something when she grabbed the next round of drinks to put her to sleep so that she could. Man, this is my conspiracy theory for the movie.
Also, she likely went on 17 more walks that day. She is bushed. She is just so tired.
A lot of cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, heavy weight. Yeah. So Kate and Luke use this opportunity to sneak outside, have a little bonfire, talk about their heartbreak histories.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's...
And then there's just the one scene where she takes off her top for no reason.
Oh, no, there's not. There's a reason. Come on. First, they're talking about how... Okay, so Luke says how lucky Chris would be if Kate and Chris had babies together. Like, what a dream to have a baby with you.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, speaking of, I don't feel comfortable doing double dates with you anymore is a conversation that he has with her. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to see you and another guy. And then he's like, I noticed you might seem unhappy, and maybe you want out of that, and I'd be happy to help you.
Holy shit.
That's what happens in that conversation.
Yeah, it's kind of, like, not quite overt, but I mean, like I said earlier, they're the only ones with any sort of, like, chemistry throughout the whole movie.
This is as close as they get to being like, hey, do you want to fuck? For the entire movie. This is as close as they get. And he's like, hey, I know it's going really weird with you and Chris. What if you and I sleep on the beach together?
Or
like,
stay at home.
And she's like, sure. And she's like, what happens if we don't sleep? And then they go to the beach and build a fire and hang out and they play with each other's hair. And then she's like, let's go swimming. And he's like, no, it's 3 a.m. It's cold. And then she just like strips down. Like strips down. And he's
like, I think that was like the end of the scene, right? Like,
yeah. And he just stays on the beach. And it's like, what is any of this? I don't get this movie.
I don't.
I get it on a theme.
Like every chance that they've had to like cheat or whatever to do whatever they obviously want to do, they don't. But the one time that their significant other just like go on a hike together, they kiss.
Yeah.
Like, like that didn't make any sense for that to be like that.
Yeah, like here's the two redeemable, good standings people. They're the ones that will cheat first. And these two will pretend it's not real.
Yeah, which almost gives them like an out, even though they don't know, right? But as us watching it, we know. So if they were to do it, you wouldn't be as mad for them cheating because their significant others already cheated.
Yeah. And then the next scene is them driving home from this soiree out to the beach. And I don't know if you guys noticed this very subtle seating arrangement they had.
Yeah. That didn't... Well, when I saw them sitting in the front, like, did they go on a drive together alone? And then they showed the two sleeping in the back. I'm like, why wouldn't you sit next to... You guys just met.
Yeah. So for listeners who might be unclear, it's Chris and Jill in the front, Chris driving, and Kate and fucking Luke. Okay, there we go. Kate and Luke are in the back, passed out with, we forgot to mention this earlier, every time there's a new morning, sunglasses are on. They're wearing sunglasses to cover their eyes because they're hungover and they regret their terrible decisions. A running theme through the movie. If they're wearing sunglasses in the morning, they've done something regrettable.
Gotcha.
Because they can be drunk and do nothing.
Earlier when she orders that Greek salad, she puts her sunglasses on just to go into another room. And I was like, man, she's really ashamed of that Greek salad.
Yeah. So they drive back, somehow seated the opposite of what they should be. And then Chris gets to drop off Jill and Luke. And he like hits the curb because he's trying to like wake up. And he's mad that they're even around. Them being Kate and
I didn't
Luke.
notice that.
Oh, he hits the curb and he's like, "Marr." And I'm like, I think he just did that just to like make sure those two jackasses in the back know we're fucking here.
Also, I did notice when they take their stuff out of the back of the car, I don't think Anna Kendrick has her magic like backpack with the glasses and stuff. I don't think it was
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with, as you were noting, the costume design and continuity. Yeah, there are a lot of issues with it. But it is an independent film made by a guy who, as far as I can tell, has made no movies of consequence. Oh, God, I'm the worst person. So that's what's going on there. So then, once they're dropped off, the obvious thing that should have happened a long time ago happens. Chris is like, hey, we need to talk. Can we go somewhere to talk?
And then they don't show the talk.
Right, they don't show the talk. And she's like, why can't we just go home and talk? He's like, I guess we'll just drive around a little bit then.
Yeah.
So they didn't show the talk. What would you say in your experience in your relationships, but probably mostly just movie relationships? What do you think happened in this talk?
He was like, look, I'm 53. You're Olivia Wilde.
Oh, did you look up their age difference? That has to be about the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Olivia Wilde's like 2 years older than Anna Kendrick. So it's still about almost 20 years.
He's just like, look, we can't do this anymore. I'm going to go to my AARP meeting. You are one of the, like, People Magazine's most sexiest women on earth. We good?
Like, her armpits stink and she's sweaty. So.
Yes, she's so down to earth.
Yeah, so they don't show it, and then the next scene they're back at work at the brewery, and Kate is wearing those sunglasses, indicating, as previously discussed, but should have been discussed much sooner, that she's been drinking and has made bad decisions or bad things have happened. A running theme: sunglasses mean something bad happened that we didn't see.
That's what the sunglasses mean. They're darkened because we didn't get to use our eyes for what the movie was telling us.
You don't get to see the emotion they're feeling. Are they angry? Are they sad? You don't get to see because they're dark sunglasses. And then she comes in and asks if they're up for some drinking tonight and to leave your significant others at home because she no longer has one.
She tells them they're drinking because she's like, cancel your wives. She calls everyone a pussy.
Yep.
She's like, we're going out.
Yeah, and you can't bring them because I don't have one right now. Booyah,
Yeah.
Let's get drunk.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we figured out what the conversation was because the context clues weren't enough.
Yeah.
and there's Luke back at work with another shirt with a fucking massive hole under his arm. Indicating nothing has changed. This is his life. It's been his life for a while. And that's the scene. And then they cut to them at the bar. Kate is wearing a half-acre shirt. So, repping that Chicago Pride. Also, an old-style hat, Chicago Pride as well. They're at the bar, and Luke asks... God damn it. Is that his name, Luke?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, I did an autofill, but I don't know if I ask Kate if she's okay and gives her that shoulder pat and rub, like, hey... just want to make sure you're doing okay. And she just walks away from him.
Well, it gives him the Heisman. Boom. I'm out.
Yeah. And then Kate grabs the attention of another person. She's got the attention of another brewer on site. That isn't Luke. Uh-oh. It's Dave.
More names.
Dark-haired, black-bearded. They're wearing the same jeans. Yeah. And we all know he's swarthy with the dark hair because Jake Johnson also has dark hair.
But he wears a hat.
Oh yeah, he doesn't show it off. He's not a showy guy. Whereas Dave's always trying to show off. Look at our sweet pants. Look at our kicks. And this also ties to Run Rabbit Run in that the main character gets mad that there's that the girl he cheats on his wife with, like, hooked up with his nemesis once in the past. So Dave is Luke's nemesis, but Rabbit is really Kate. So the it's not a 1-to-1. It's not.
Gotcha.
We're confused because Kate's Rabbit, but Rabbit is mad at. But in this case, Rabbit's the one banging the nemesis.
Maybe Rabbit is Rabbit from 8 Mile. And it's, right, she's got Mom Spaghetti on her shirt. And she's hooking up with the rival, like in 8 Mile when Brittany Murphy fucked Mekhi Phifer.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't remember 8 Mile enough. I'm going to say that's probably accurate.
You know what? Let's just watch 8 Mile and talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's grimy. It's yeah. You know, Detroit's got a good beer scene. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Yeah, so she's hanging out with this Dave guy whose name is immediately known as soon as he appears on camera. Everybody else's name is like said immediately. Like, this is Phil, this is Jim. These people that we're going to spend the entire movie with, fuck them. Like, just no reason. Let's see. Yeah, so they spend their time making fun of Luke and comparing pants. Luke's like, hey, it's getting late. Do you need a ride home? You've been drinking. You need a ride home? And she's like, no. And everybody knows a good man who's not trying to bang you just leaves it alone. But Luke, he keeps asking, you sure? You sure? You sure you're good? You sure you're good? You don't need... I mean, I could stay. And she's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm trying to fuck Dave. What are you doing? Read the signs, idiot. So he leaves, right?
And then at the end, it's just the next day at work when we figure out what happened.
Hold on, I did notice something very meaningful. Oh. So while they're on the couch, the two, Dave and Kate, they're canoodling, they're comparing their pants, and he's like, you should take a picture for Instagram. Instagram 2013, crazy reference. And she's like, yeah, and then she doesn't pick up her phone, she puts her fingers up, and she's like, it's like a fake Instagram.
Yeah, she said it's like for your mind Instagram.
Oh, yeah, an Instagram for your mind. And I don't know if you guys know how meaning works, but what it's trying to tell you is she didn't take a picture because even though she's drunk and super flirty, she knows this guy means nothing and isn't worth remembering.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I think one of the most believable scenes in the movie is that next scene at work. When everyone's like, oh, Kate went home with Dave.
Yeah, this is the absolute...
Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, that's a very realistic scene. The one girl at work is going to be talked about because, yeah, like, obviously what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but we're missing the fact that once Luke gets home, he's talking to Jill. He gets beer, offers her one. She says, no, thank you, no beer for me. And then Luke's like, by the way, Kate and Chris broke up. And Jill's like, oh, tell me more about this. You know, for no reason.
Is that where she's like painting the weird horse thing?
Yeah.
She wants
to know like a model of something. Like it's like a miniature train background.
It's like in fourth grade when you have to do the mission reports in California. You have to do a mission. She's like got a little styrofoam mission thing out there.
Yeah, like little texture, little what's the word? Where it's the levels, and it's in geography, and it's like, oh,
little topography thing.
Yeah, there you go, topography.
Yeah, that was a thing for her to be doing. I forgot about that.
Well, she teaches special ed, so she works very hard. That's what Chris said to her.
Okay,
he's like, oh, you're like a real teacher.
It's like I was like, I don't think we've made this character boring and uninteresting enough. We need to be like, by the way, she does miniature models for trains. She has a whole train set that's hidden in the closet. She brings it out. It's totally animated. It's very... Stephen Ferris has one, for instance. Jesse Jones. These are local comedians. They're big on miniature train towns.
Jesse's got a whole Christmas setup.
Yeah. Jesse Jones is great. Steve Ferris is also great, but weird dudes. So they're trying to establish that she's also weird, I guess, with that. So yeah, they get to work, and everyone's like, oh, did you hear what happened? All right, take it and go.
Yeah, I mean, all the guys are like, oh yeah, someone saw her. I forget, they're like, Andy, someone saw it. And so everyone's talking about it, and they're like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to look at her now that I know. Like, it was just, like, she did something wrong. Instead of acknowledging that their male coworker took advantage of her being drunk, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, decision, whatever, but, like, it was her fault, the way they talked about it, which was like...
She's a grown human with sexual desires. I don't know how I'm going to look at her now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like, when I saw that scene, I was like, oh, okay, this is like the most realistic, like, male-driven, like, area. She's the only woman, so of course, like, it's her fault. Yeah. She did something bad.
Yeah, and I should note that both Dave and Kate are wearing sunglasses as they enter these scenes, again, to indicate their hangover and the fact that they are ashamed of boning. And, of course, Kate, realizing her mistake, tries to get Luke to go to lunch with her, and he like mutters something and walks away, and like refuses to acknowledge her as a person because she's tainted.
She's got a scarlet letter on her with D for Dave.
Yeah. And actually, looking at my notes, we seem to have missed a pretty major. This is, I would think, would be a major scene that we're like, we don't need to talk about this. Before they show the next day, but after she's working on a train model, it cuts to them in the bedroom, and she's like, "Hey, we are gonna get married, right? Like, we all agree we're gonna get married. We're gonna get married. We're married. Remember when you said we were gonna get married?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, but we're not there financially, and like their schedules are super weird, and that won't change because we've been in the same jobs for a fucking decade."
Yeah, she says they're having a conversation about having a conversation. I'm like, this is the weirdest conversation.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, I'm going to go leave for a week to go hang out with old college friends." And he's like, "Oh, I forgot about that. Didn't you say you weren't going to go?" She's like, "I changed my mind. I'm going to go spend a week away from you." and this is where I thought this was pretty good, because I was like, this is an obvious movie setup. She's going to go spend time with Chris. They're going to have their fucking fling. It's going to be great.
I also thought that.
But then they didn't. That's not what happened. She went on the trip. This is the one twist in the movie. I was like, oh, this wasn't an obvious path to take. She actually went.
Well, we don't know for sure.
Right. That's
we
true.
do know that she does see Chris again, because he gives her that book at the farmer's market.
Yes, you're right.
We do know she has further interaction with him.
Yeah, and when they come back from the beach, he's like, "Hey, just if you guys want to hang out or say anything, call or text me." And he gives her his card. He completely ignores Luke. He's like, and the other two don't even acknowledge this transaction's happened, so they have each other's business info.
Yeah.
Hit me up on my work phone so nobody can trace it. That kind of thing.
Here's my LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah. Like all good relationships start.
And he gives her a book of poetry, further cementing his role as the douchiest man in Chicago. Here's a book. You probably need to get on my level.
Yeah. When they are back at work the next day, this is when I realized Luke is not named Jess, because Dave calls Luke Luke. I'm like, oh. And then they have an argument about this is exactly after Dave and Kate have boned. They have an argument about who's got what responsibilities in the brew house. Something that had never previously been an issue. Yeah. I wonder what's changed. And then Kate's doing business with some dude named Eli. It's not really clear what they're doing. They're having a meeting.
They don't say like what. I mean, obviously it's business related, but They don't really. She's talking about, we're going to do a canning line, we're going to do this. But it's not very clear what the business is. And it's not that important that she can't stop the conversation to go talk to Luke on his way out and stop him from leaving. She stops the conversation to go over there.
Yeah, and everyone knows who Eli is. Is this a manager of the brew house? Is it a distributor that they're working with? Like, hey, we're going to be able to get you more product. Maybe come back here. We'll have some stuff for you. Like, what? But everybody knows.
I think this is the point where I revealed to you guys that I did not make it past this part of the movie. Oh. So I'm going to count on you guys to relay information, and I'll make some quips.
So
I was under the impression we were recording at 5 and not 5 Mountain Time. So I was trying to crush it.
That's me. You could have said, "Hey, we can wait." It would have been fine. But yeah,
it's all good. I'm going to probably sit here and go, "Oh, really? That happened?" Oh my god!
You're not going to be shocked by any of this. So at the end of the day, after talking to Eli, or mid talking to Eli, she's like, "We need to get drinks. You and me, Luke. We need to get these drinks. Let's get drinks. Let's go get drinks." And he's like, "Fuck off." And then it cuts to them drinking, but they're not at the dive bar. They're in the brewery drinking out of plastic cups. In secret.
And he's barefoot and his feet are disgustingly dirty. I don't know. Like, was he not wearing shoes all day at work? Because that's not OSHA compliant. That's not okay.
No, that's awful. Maybe he thought like he was working in a vineyard and he had to squash the malts and hops. It's like doing the Lucille Ball and the grapes thing.
Yeah, that's how they get their signature.
Yeah.
Their flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where they have their honest conversation about what happened the night before. And Luke's like, "Look, you have the right to have sex with a bad brewer with a bad attitude." And then Kate's like, I don't even love Dave anyway. And then she rests her head on his shoulder. And then he says she smells good and touches her knees. And then she smells him back. End scene.
Yeah. No, she says, oh, maybe you're smelling Dave.
Oh, shit. Sick burn. Way to keep a little emotional distance.
He's like, I'm surprised you washed all that Dave off of you. And she's like, no, you're smelling Dave.
Nice. I missed that. Damn it.
Gross.
Yeah, and then there's cuts to a dinner party between Kate, Jill, and Luke. They're all hanging out at Jill and Luke's place having dinner with the aforementioned veggie lasagna, drinking those Founders Centennials.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we discover that Luke and Jill have been dating since they were 21. And they're like, well, people change. And Jill's like, I kind of wish I'd fucked more dudes.
Yeah, and maybe a girl.
Yeah. And she's like, I could have at least tried. And then, Luke innocently says, you still can.
I kind of took that conversation. So he says he scooped her up when she was 21. So it makes it seem like he's older. Because he was saying he was using his C material and she didn't know better.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So they are acknowledging that he's older in a way.
Okay.
But not very well because it's not scripted.
Right. Yeah. Everybody picks up a different thing because there's no script to follow. And words kind of drop out and tones change. And also it's so boringly shot that there's nothing to keep you locked to the screen.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that I was like, I have to take notes for this podcast. It's the only reason I made it.
No, the director had two styles. He was intense close up or handheld to signify intimacy or stress.
And this is when he finds out she's got that book of poems. He's like, when did you even see each other?
The scene on the couch before we get to the poems was, so I noticed that they'd only shown two women in the whole movie. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, this passed the Bechdel test, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, where, it has to have two women who have names, who have a conversation with each other about something other than men. So I was waiting. I was like, they barely talk. Yeah. So it technically passes because they're talking to each other, but he's there too. So at no point did these two women talk to each other alone. There's always a man around.
Yeah.
But it barely passes.
What did they talk about? Because I don't think they talked about anything besides.
Well, they talked about, I think there was I didn't take a note of it, but there was something. I mean, they were talking about relationships.
Right.
I think there was something else.
So I don't think it passes.
I don't think it passes it.
I don't want to rewatch to find out.
Yeah, again,
right.
If you're listening at home, congratulations on making it through this. This is, whatever we're doing is way more interesting than what is on the screen. And I would argue we should probably pick a different movie to kick this idea off. We've been set up to fail, and it was my doing.
So then the next scene, she's packing. They have an awkward conversation about him noticing her packing.
Yeah.
Because they can't talk about anything else.
Yeah.
And she shows him the book and says that Chris stopped by the farmer's market and brought her a book of poems and he seemed good and nice and whatever.
Yeah. And she's like, you'll think about the marriage thing, right? And he's like, oh, yes, the marriage thing. I will think about it. She's like, because I'm going to be thinking about the marriage thing. I'll be thinking about the marriage thing a whole lot on my trip to hang out with college friends who are all married and have children and good careers. So it'll be on my mind consistently.
Yeah. If she's leaving, talking about a guy came by, brought her something, and she has nothing but positive things to say about this guy. Plus, she's going away for a week in Costa Rica, a beautiful trip, and is pressing the marriage. I'm thinking about nothing else that entire week. I'm like, fuck, I got to put this together. I got to get my shit together.
You need to go buy a book of poems.
Yeah. That'd be hilarious if that was his takeaway.
Dr. Seuss, I don't know. Something more on his level.
This is bigger. It's a bigger book of poems.
So we went to Costa Rica. Didn't, when they're on the beach at night, after they've slinked away under the cover of nightfall and shoved Jill to the ground, don't Kate and Luke discuss opening their own brewery internationally?
I think it was when he's helping her move. They talk about Cuba.
Shit. Yeah, you're right. It's
later on. It's one of the other scenes where they're together.
Okay.
But they talk about Cuba,
Aruba, Bahama. Come on, pretty mama.
Going through New Orleans and sneaking through Miami or whatever. And then we'll end up in Cuba.
She's sneaking through Mexico.
Yeah, there we go.
Because she says Mexico and Costa Rica are basically the same thing.
Right.
Yes.
Not true at all.
Right. Well, it's 2013 in there, and there are white folks in Chicago. What do you want?
Nobody bought her a book of geography. That's the problem.
Yeah.
She didn't get a book that's an atlas of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently that's later, but yes. So after he talks to her about marriage and poems, we cut to Kate going back to Chris's apartment and still needing to be buzzed in. Will she be buzzed in?
She will.
She will. She's let back in, and what's she there for?
Seem like you don't know where she is because they don't show him right away. They show her on a couch talking. You can tell she's drunk. But, like, they pan over to him like it's a reveal.
It's like, but it's the same apartment. We saw her at the door. She biked up. It's the same scene.
But I don't know if you got that from that scene, but that's how it seems.
This we can both agree is what occurred. Which is a rarity so far. Agreeing what the circumstance of a reviewing is. But she's like, I'm like, is she going to be like, we need closure. I left some stuff here. She's like, no, I want you back.
Oh.
And she's like sitting down. She's being a sexy slinking in the lounge.
Like playing with her hair.
Yeah.
And she said something about sweating her balls off, I believe.
Yeah.
Hot.
Super cute. Super laid back, chill girl. And he refuses to sit down. Big move. Stay standing.
Mm-hmm. Power move.
Power move. Let her know, not interested in what you're trying to pull off here.
That's what the kids these days call big dick energy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also, he's like 73 years old and it hurts to sit down. He's like, this is going to be a lot of work on the camera. Like, we're going to hear.
He's like, it's time I buzzed you out.
Like, I'm going to be fair. This budget for this movie is probably so small. We don't know how to fix the creaking knee sound that's going to come up in post. And I don't want that on my, like, I don't want that. That's something that somebody knows about me. Forgetting no one watched this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she tries.
We actually see like part of the talk that we didn't see before.
Right.
Because he tells her, like, I meant what I said. Do you remember that I said this isn't working? And that's when he says, in 8 months, you'll know something's working.
Yeah. And we should point out that when she comes back to work the day after the breakup, she says that it was her that broke up with him. Mm-hmm. And he's like, nah, it was me, which we already knew because he's the one that offered the talk. At no point in my dating history has the talk ever been anything but, like, we're done here. I've been like, every time I've heard we need to talk, it's never been like, hey, I think that the thing about you is a little bit weird. It's always been like, fuck off forever. So, you know, I think, well, maybe Becky and I have said, like, we need to talk, like, twice, and it's been, like, productive, like, change stuff. But usually, I'd say 95% has been, this is exactly what you think it's going to be.
Come in, have a seat.
Yeah. So
it's like getting fired. It always starts with that shit. Yeah. Come in, have a seat.
Yeah. It's like, great. I would love to be comfortable in an office that I'm never in for no reason. This is fine.
Shut the door.
Well, I know I did something really awesome yesterday, so this is probably about that. Definitely not the long-term things I've done that have ruined this company. But yeah, so he is wanting no part of it, and she's like, "But he's like, fuck off! It's been 8 months and you don't like me. This is a bad idea." And then she goes home, or tries to.
Her tires from her bike get stolen, and then she has a little freak out, kicking the bike and saying, "Why did you steal that one?" And then like screams. I'm not sure if in this scene she's also wearing a scarf with her tank top, but I'm imagining that she is, because that's a look.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm not sure what the temperature is, but
they did all the bike stuff on the same night.
Yeah. And then she just walks off without the bike. She just leaves the bike. Fuck
yes.
It. Oh. It's like, can I take it home with one wheel? Yeah, I can. Am I going to? No. I've been shattered. This bike is part of me. Half of it is gone.
Mm-hmm. It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor.
Yeah. She's lost all direction and momentum.
Yeah. That was, she was already broken, and that just ruined her, seeing that happen. So it cuts to the next day. Kate's in the office. You'll never guess what she's wearing. Sunglasses. It's sunglasses. Oh. She's wearing sunglasses.
It's probably a tank top and a scarf.
Yeah.
The scent of Dave.
This scene serves one purpose. It is to establish that Jill is not in the country right now. She has gone on her trip. And upon learning this, Kate's like, hey, you want to go to dinner?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they do. And they go to they don't go to a dive bar. They go to a real restaurant with booths.
And he pays.
Yeah. Without telling her. Like in advance. And then she says, thanks, hubby. and takes his hand, and they walk out. And they go back to his place.
You got to assume Luke and Jill share a checking account at this time, right? They've been together 8 years. They've lived together. She's going to see that pop up.
I don't think you know the beer industry, Corky.
Oh.
Every brewer deals in cash. All of them.
Gotcha.
Because you only use the card when you need to make accounting for the fact that this is a business expense that you can write off. But otherwise, it's all cash.
Gotcha.
Is that your experience, Paulina? Brewers carry
yeah,
cash?
what? Yeah, I do.
When you're cheating on your significant other,
when you're cheating on your 8-year relationship, there's no paper trail.
Yeah, nothing changes.
As they always do.
Yeah.
So then they go back to his place.
They go back to his place, and this is one of my points of pride. They're drinking Half-Acre Daisy Cutter Pale. Beautiful beer. Love it. But they're also taking shots.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, which one are they going to drink first? That way we can tell which way this is about to go. They do shots first. Shots fired. As they're in the home alone. Corky, you didn't see this movie. What happens?
Platonic massages.
Yes.
Oh my God. Wait, but how do these massages take place, Corky?
Well, Wikipedia doesn't say how they take place.
You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch.
Are they really drunk in this scene? Like, are they fucked up?
I think I read that they were actually drinking real beer. And I think Olivia Wilde said that they were pretty drunk on some days of filming.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
But I meant the characters. Like, were they just tipsy or were they sloshed?
Well, they had 2 beers with dinner probably. They just got back. They took a shot immediately, then started drinking this pale ale, which is about 5.6. So it's not a big.
I'm calling bullshit. That would have went to sex.
Yeah. So
that's enough alcohol, time alone, feeling vulnerable. And they're touching each other.
Yeah.
That would go to sex.
Yeah.
That's the most unrealistic part of the whole movie is that every opportunity where it seems like it's going to happen, it never does.
She gives him a massage from behind the couch, but then when it's his turn to massage her, he's on the couch and she's lying back against him. And I wrote, much like your thought was, this is going to lead to sex. My note was Boner City.
The second not to get graphic, but the second your hands are rubbing on someone, it's like you've already passed in your head. Beer or alcohol brain is like, well, I'm this far. Not sorry. Edit this whole part of me talking about the process of cheating through massages.
Yeah. But we've all seen the movies. Massages are, you're basically, it's Pulp Fiction already talked about this. We're not treading new ground here.
And that was just foot massages.
Yeah. Come on. Well, to be fair, you got to get shoes off. That's already you're disrobing. You don't have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they fall asleep.
Fall asleep in a weird, I don't know how to fall asleep in that position.
Yeah. It's like in each other's laps. Somehow.
It looks like it hurts.
It looks uncomfortable. But they're drunk. That's why. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she crawls out of it.
To go to the bathroom.
Mm.
And he kind of wakes up. End scene. Right? Nothing happens?
Yeah. Nothing. Something should have happened.
Yeah. And
the movie would have been more interesting.
And then the next scene, they're in a park. She's leaning against a tree, and she's like, hey, I'm moving. Now. I'm moving now.
Now, are the sunglasses on or off?
I didn't make a note of sunglasses, so I assume that while she was drunk, she did not regret her actions from the night before.
There you go.
I'm telling you, the sunglasses mean something. She was happy about her decision.
Yeah. It was very sudden and weird because usually you have a little more notice when you're moving, unless you're getting evicted.
Yeah.
So
it's not clear if she's getting an upgrade or a downgrade or. She's talking about it's money, but.
Yeah, she said she was living in a place for 2, but she's only meant for 1 or something like that. So she needed to move to a smaller place with her imaginary. Yeah. That's what she said. But I don't know what had to happen then and there. Immediate.
Yeah, it had to happen. And he's like, great, I'll go get the U-Haul. I'll go arrange the U-Haul and I'll help you pack. Why doesn't she have this?
She went and packed it.
She hadn't even
packed.
She hadn't packed?
She didn't even...
There was no discussion previous that, hey, I was considering moving. Hey, I signed a new lease. That never happened. Just, I'm moving. It's today, and I haven't done any planning, and can you help me?
Yes, I don't know if that's supposed to be her character being, like, just really free and, like, you know, just goes with the wind, because she still had her birthday cake out, which we don't even know when her birthday party was. She still had all the celebration stuff out. We don't know how long that was, but he made it seem like it'd been a long time.
Yeah. So he makes it a whole day. He's like, we'll go to your place, we'll pack up, I'll go to the U-Haul, we'll load it up, we'll take it in, and then I'll make a reservation, we'll get a nice dinner together. My wife is still in Costa Rica.
She's been gone for 2 years.
This is a hard flash forward. Yeah, but it's clearly like, it's just so stupid. They do it. They move. Luke is wearing an Allagash shirt. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, saw that.
And while they're moving furniture, and they drop the couch, because you got to drop the couch. Everybody knows you got to have a couch drop if you're going to be moving in a scene. And
there's a nail on the couch that cuts his hand open.
That he didn't notice before when he was positioning his hands on the move out or on the pickup. And you know how couches are often designed with nails just sticking out?
All the time.
Yeah. And so he's like, I cut myself. She's like, yeah, get back to work, pussy. And he's like, but it's really cut. And it's like, how cut can it be? And it's like massively cut. It's like gushing blood.
Yeah, there's blood all over the sink.
Yeah.
And she kind of freaks out. She's like, I don't do well. And this is when he gets mad at her for not doing anything. He's like, get peroxide, get a towel. And she's like, gonna pass out watching him bleed everywhere.
Yeah.
So this is like half couch, half Iron Maiden. This is just like a torture device couch.
Yeah. It's the weirdest couch.
I'm not sure. I guess they needed some tension between the two instead of just sex playtime all the time.
So he takes her bandana and uses it to wrap himself up. It might have been his bandana. They all have bandanas. Who?
Is this after they slept on the bed together, right?
No. This is later. That will happen later. So he bandages himself up. He gets back down to help finish the move like a champion would do, and he gets into a fight with a passerby. Who's like, move your fucking truck.
Yeah, who happens to be the writer, director, and editor of the movie, I believe?
Is the guy that they fight.
All three.
Yeah, it's dumb. And apparently, at some point in this scuffle that's not impressive visually, Jake Johnson like injures his face and needs an ice pack on his face, and he's got his hand tied up. So he's just patting and like, well, I guess we'll need somebody else to help.
And guess who comes? Dave.
Fucking Dave.
He's just like right there, like, oh, did I hear my name?
Yes. They said Dave 3 times and he appeared.
Yeah.
I noticed you didn't tag me on Instagram.
Yeah, and they're moving, and Dave's like, hey, after this is done, me and the boys are going to go to the bar and get drunk. You want to come? And she's like, yeah. And then Luke's like, we had plans for dinner. What kind of friend are you? She's like, they're my friends too. I want to hang out with my friends. My friends. I don't have to hang out with you all the time. And before we go any further, I want to point out that Dave is the villain of this movie, but he's wearing a Lawrence Arms t-shirt. And that band is great. So cool indie cred for Dave.
Nice.
I'm very big on the shirts in this movie because I felt like as a beer movie, they got all these beer things. So just want to say, we noticed you wearing your Lawrence Arms shirt.
Thanks, Dave. Shout out to Dave.
Yeah. So yeah, they have an argument. They really get into their feelings a little bit. She says she's allowed to hang out with who she wants to.
Yeah, she reminds him that he's not single.
Yeah.
But she is.
That he doesn't.
So they kind of finally acknowledge the entire point of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
without doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, go home to your girlfriend.
Burn.
And he's like, she's not even here right now. Yeah. And so they show him driving somewhere. You don't know where. He's clearly like of two minds. Is it Jill? Is it Kate? Do I go back? Do I go home? Do I go somewhere else? Do I quit my job? He's struggling. He doesn't say anything, but it's just him in a U-Haul, clearly having these thoughts. And you're like, oh, what's going to happen? Is he going to go to the bar and get drinks? Is he going to go back to the apartment and try to profess his love? Is he going to go home? And Corky, you haven't seen this movie, and you've closed Wikipedia, you son of a bitch. What? Where's he end up?
I can tell you that Jill comes back, And the trip was bad.
Yeah, she came back early. She's at home. He went home. And she's home.
She's crying.
Crying.
Now, this is the best thing that could happen to this guy. He has fucked up this relationship. He's in love, at least flirting with this other woman, and trying to make it like that they're together in this week off from his actual girlfriend. The only thing that saved their relationship is she had a bad time.
Yeah.
Right? Because if she came back, if she had a wonderful time, she figured out she didn't think about him that much, she wants to try new things, that relationship's done. But because she came back and had a bad time, it like gives their relationship new life.
Yeah, and here's an interesting thing. I noticed he kind of pushed her for like, why was it such a shitty time? Why was it so bad? And she like wouldn't give specifics.
Yeah.
So did she try to hook up with Chris for a few days and realize this is not really love? Or did she actually go and hang out with her friends and have a bad time?
We'll never know. They didn't show it. And she is very evasive when he asks her. She's like, it's just bad. Because he says something, I think he asks if the flight was bad or something.
Yeah.
And she doesn't like really answer it.
Yeah.
She just, and that's when she finally confesses that she had kissed Chris.
But she only confesses to kissing Chris. She didn't go, I also went on a couple-day rendezvous with this man. She only says, I kissed him one time. I've been feeling terrible about it this whole time. I need to tell you so that we can figure out where we are in a relationship.
Like, she's the only good person, right?
Eh.
I mean, I know she's boring, but she kissed that guy, but that's it. I don't know. You guys saw way more of the movie than I did. But.
Yeah. But I mean, to do that far in the relationship and then ask for marriage without being fully honest is kind of questionable morals.
Yeah. It's...
I guess, but he's been cheating pretty much the whole time.
Emotionally
yeah, it's not physical, but he's still been cheating.
And as soon as she was gone, he was just spending every moment with her.
Yeah.
Really, like, I mean, I've been with my boyfriend almost 10 years. I've moved a few times. He's never gotten me a U-Haul. That's a pretty big move.
Yeah. On a whim.
That doesn't say anything bad about him. That just says a lot about JJ in the movie.
Yeah. Right, exactly. It's like, well, yeah, it's like big gestures. I get it. That's when you're trying to impress a woman. He's done trying to impress you. You've been together 10 years. And we've all settled into like, impress me. What the fuck are you talking about? Just do what you always do. Go over there. You want to make it fresh? That's crazy. Buy a house. That's fresh. Is that fresh enough for you? We can do the same shit in that house. That's it. I don't know what your guys' relationships are like. That's what's anyway. So so now we're getting to the denouement, the final scene. We get to it, and Kate is entering the brewery in sunglasses because she regrets her decision from the day before. She regrets it so much. She's not calling out to people. She's not being friendly. She enters in silence, pours herself a beer and sits in silence, goes to lunch and sits in silence.
And they show her at one point passing by Luke, and she doesn't even look at him.
Oh, yeah, doesn't even look at him. Doesn't even look at him. And, she walks through a business meeting, and she just glares at it, and that's when Jason Sudeikis mentions Three Floyds. Cool.
Yes.
Gonna do a collab with Three Floyds. That's pretty cool. And then she just, like, goes to lunch.
Yeah.
And she's eating like a takeout lunch. It's got, like, styrofoam and plastic and all this stuff. And then, guess who enters the lunchroom, Corky?
Luke?
It's Luke! And you know what he's got? A homemade lunch with Tupperware and a banana, a very healthy lunch, a sandwich and a banana. And
Jill approved.
And he looks at her like he wants to start a conversation. And
he brought her a beer.
Oh, yeah, he brought her a beer. That's right.
He brings beer in. He sits next to her, slides one over to her.
Yeah.
Without looking at her, so it's kind of a peace offering.
Yeah, and she begrudgingly sips it as if she's never had this beer at the brewery she works at before. She's like, this is pretty good. I'll take another sip. Oh, this is actually pretty good. What is this at this place I work at every day?
Yes, because as a woman in a brewery, she doesn't know beer, and he has to.
Oh, that's a good point. I forgot about that. She probably doesn't know what she's doing.
Probably doesn't know.
So, this is really bitter. I don't really like it. She says with her face. Yeah. All right.
And then is that when she gets the French fries?
She puts the French fries in the thing and slides them over to him. A couple of French fries. which I believe there's a previous issue with French fries where because she dipped a finger in his beer, then he like puts his fingers in her French fries. She's like, that doesn't do anything. It's a callback to that. She offers him fries as her peace offering.
And then he gives her a banana.
Yeah,
because he wants to give her his banana.
Yeah. and then this is when they communicate with their bodies. Before, they're not looking at each other. They're just like sliding it over. And now she's like thanking him with her eyes for the banana.
And then slides the banana back.
Yeah. And then, you know what happens? They throw the banana away. He throws it in the trash, meaning, hey, our sexual chemistry, my penis, your vagina, that is done for. We're throwing it away. We are just friends. Symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
And then they audibly laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Soft chuckle. And they sip their beer, and the movie ends.
What was the point?
Is to show you that we all are bad at choices.
Because we watched it?
Just because it seems good on paper doesn't mean it is. Just because it seems bad on paper means it's bad on paper. And also in reality. If it's bad, it's bad. And if it seems good, it might not be what you think it is. And you need to throw that banana in the trash.
I mean, bananas are delicious, and they're not that cheap, especially if you're buying organic bananas. So
well, let's face facts. JJ is not an organic banana in this movie.
Yeah, that's true. But Jill would buy organic bananas.
Oh,
yeah.
Real. She'd be like, I feel like you're an organic banana. You should strive to be organic.
Is this banana cage free?
I think they all are. So that's the movie. Since this is Leonard Malting, I should probably give my review. You will fall asleep to this. This is a nothing. It's not fluff. It's not even fluff. It's just like why is any scene happening? Why do we care about these people? What's the point? Why is
it considered a comedy?
Oh, why is it considered a comedy? Why is it considered a romance? A romantic comedy?
I mean, I think it could be used medicinally to cure insomnia.
Yeah.
I took a long, hard nap right after.
Yes.
So I think doctors need to get in on this. It's like a prescription. You just write it out for Hulu, put on Drinky Buddies.
Yeah. Absolutely. That would totally work every time. You could start this movie over. You could pick up where you left off. No matter what you do, you will be falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great. And
I started watching it with my girlfriend, and she was like, "Ooh, I like all these people." I was like, "Yeah, cool." And then about 10 minutes in, I was already checking how much time I had left because I knew we were going to be recording soon. She's like, "That bad, huh?" And then she was just texting me because she finished watching it. She's like, "Ugh, this is bad."
Yeah,
it's called Drinking Buddies, but I wanted to see the brewery was the best part of it, and show us the consequences of drinking. You know?
Yeah.
They're just shit people. They're just not really fleshed out. And these scenes just kind of do what they're going to do. How does the alcohol affect that? Do they get drunk and make bad decisions and have to regret that? Or is one of them going to quit drinking? I don't know. Yeah. Make it about drinking.
Yeah.
And buddies.
Because
there were no buddies.
Yeah.
No.
Why couldn't it be hey, we're both dating people from rival breweries, something to give you a little bit of
That could be the next movie. It's like a Romeo and Juliet. The possibilities are endless. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But I think we can all agree that the brewery aspect of it was pretty accurate for 2013 as far as what they were doing.
There's one woman. There are no people of color.
Yeah. Most people have beards.
Most people have beards. Yeah, it's really accurate.
Yeah, and in 2013, their tap handles had labels that were literally Post-it notes saying what they were.
Yeah.
And this one, they nailed the accuracy by talking to people in the beer industry. So in the thank yous, they thank Kate Thomas, who I discovered is an employee at Half Acre Brewing, which is featured throughout the movie. Andrew Mason from Three Floyds, which is mentioned in the movie. And Jim Seaback from Revolution Brewing itself. And so they had people that told them this is what it's like to work in the industry in different levels, because there's a brewer, there's an owner, and there's a publican, essentially, because I think Miss Thomas went to start her own pub. And this is one of my favorite things. It's called The Publican. The pub was called The Publican. I don't know about that name. whatever. But this is my favorite thing. I was like trying to figure out what her part in the industry was that let her be a part of it. And the first link was to a Twitter account that was like Chicago Kate or something. And the latest tweet was, "It's been 3 years since I've tweeted. Drinking Buddies must now be in theaters." That's her last tweet.
Oh.
And the previous tweet to that was 3 years prior. Just a fun fact that I found. That's the first search.
That is more interesting than the whole movie.
Yeah, it's what a mess this was. But do you guys have any final parting thoughts about this movie or the future of this idea of a podcast about beer movies, knowing this is like the only movie we could have talked about?
I think we talked about this before we started recording about like it was a little closer, more accurate with all the brewing stuff than like Netflix's Brew Brothers or Brew Bros, whatever that show was called. But
Awful.
That was awful. It was filmed at a brewery, but like all of it was just a mess. But I think there can be better movies that it doesn't have to be all about the beer, but kind of involve it a little more.
I feel like this movie was accurate about the beer business, the beer industry. It was accurate about like bad relationships and like the temptation of people near you or that have more similar interests. It was accurate about those things in theory. So I'm like, what would have happened if they'd scripted the movie?
Right. Yeah, it would have had stronger plot.
Stronger plot, better lines.
Made more sense.
Like, make it coherent. Like, give them a structure. Like, I think if we went and made this movie with a script that lets you not fall into, oh, this is what a movie would usually show here, and you actually, instead of having beats, had an actual script that, like, let you use the expertise that you had, as opposed to framing around expertise, I feel like it could have been something. Yeah,
and you have a movie with charming people, talented actors, and
that pop
they're nice to look at,
other movie.
In a very interesting setting, but it never once grabs you. Like, there's no point where this movie's like, oh, okay, now I'm invested, now I'm caring. Not once. You're just watching shit happen.
But that's the thing with, like, they're not known from having improv backgrounds. Like, Jason Sudeikis, comes from SNL, he comes from comedy stuff. Like, I'm sure if he had been a bigger role, he could have improv'd a lot of different things. But these actors, like, as actors, have been used to having a script in front of them.
Well, Anna Kendrick's actually got some improv background. She's got good comic timing.
Yeah, and
I know.
If you haven't seen Butter, Olivia Wilde in Butter, comic for days. It's so funny. So funny.
I mean, did she write books more, or did she just direct it?
I don't know.
I know she's behind it. I don't know what capacity, but I thought that was a really funny, really good movie. I know she can be funny, but I mean, you need the right material.
Yeah, we know all of these people can be funny, engaging, romantically appealing, and they are none of it.
Nothing. What a boring ass fucking movie you picked, Ben.
Thank God it was free.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, if I had to pay for this, I would have been asking for
this podcast is also free and is just as long. Oh God, you guys, this particular Barley Me Presents may not have legs, barring a complete overhaul of the movie industry. But I thank you guys for being a part of it. If you want to do another one, I'm totally down. If you want to pick something that you think this features beer pretty heavily, but actually has a plot and a storyline that's worthwhile, we could do it.
No, I'm with you, and I promise I'll watch the whole thing this time.
It'll probably be easier. I imagine any other movie on Earth would be easier to watch. You watch bad movies for a living, but like intolerable movies are different than bad movies. Like bad movies is because they tried to be something and just failed at it. This didn't try to be anything.
Yeah. I'd rather a movie be like where I was sitting there going, God, that was terrible. Then afterwards go, God, that was nothing. I'd rather a movie be terrible and get me like pissed off than be something where I'm just like, that was a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, well, it happened.
Yeah. We have spent an hour and 40 minutes saying nothing about a movie that said nothing.
And it's gone by so much quicker than watching the movie.
Yeah. I guarantee if you listen to this podcast, thank you. I appreciate it. I said it earlier because, like, seriously, if you've listened to this, you've seen the movie, and it's better than the movie. We did great with the material we were given, because we were given material, unlike the actors in this film. All right, that's it for episode 1 of Leonard Malting. All right, where can we see you guys? Paulina, where can people find you online if they want to learn more about Pink Boots Society or even Paulina Olivares as a human being?
Yeah, so I'm the marketing chair for Pink Boots Sacramento. So we're on Facebook and Instagram, a little more active on the gram, but lately we haven't had much going on with things being closed and beer industry kind of being a little bit on hiatus. Most of our collaboration brews have been released. There might be some still available. I'll have to reach out to some of the breweries. Me personally, I'm on Instagram, Ola Paulina. You can catch me at Total Wine in Roseville, wearing a mask, so hopefully you don't recognize me.
And Corky McDonnell, where can people find you?
You can find me on streaming shows at Sac Comedy Spot or performing at Sacramento Comedy Spot. Also on the Dare Daniel podcast, where we take bad movie dares and watch them with the help of some local Sacramento breweries that we also discuss a little bit of beer. But if you got some bad movie dares, send them our way. We're Jackass for the Criterion Collection set.
Now, would you accept a Drinking Buddies Dare Daniel recommendation?
I'm never watching this fucking thing again. Truly, I consider this a Dare Daniel submission because this is bad.
Like, would you make Daniel Barnes of Dare Daniel, would you make him watch this? And then
I wouldn't subject anybody that I want to continue a relationship with. I would not subject anybody to this thing.
If you want to break up with them, you tell them to watch this movie. Oh, the main character reminds me of you.
Yeah. I buy him a book, and I'm like, hey, baby, here's a book. Oh, by the way, a movie for you to watch.
Yes. And then you won't have to break up with them because they will break up with you.
They will run out the damn door.
Yes.
There will be a dispute about who broke up with whom if you do it right. God, what
Perfect.
a fucking wreck. All right, I'm Ben Rice, Barley Me Podcast. Follow at Barley Me Pod. Chugs for charity. Do them. Donate. Thank you. This should be easier. Thanks so much for listening. Stay home safe. God damn it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all of you. Thank you.
I think this should be easier is the best sign off of all time. This should be easier.
Can you get a shirt? I mean, I think that's also like a review for the movie.
Right.